Welcome again to another episode of my pre-registration optometry series. How are you all doing? I hope you're good and I hope everyone is fine and everything is going well. And I'm doing great as usual. I just thank God. God has been so faithful. God has been amazing, and I owe everything that has been happening so far to Him because He's just been mind-blowing. I can't even find the right words. Okay, so I am successfully done with my visit one, and yay! I'm so excited. I'm so happy because it was super successful. It was amazing, successful, and I'm so grateful. What I'm going to be talking about is how to prepare for visit one. Okay, so visit one is, in case you just don't know, once you start pre-reg, you've got different stages. You've got the stage 1, the stage 2, and then the final OSCEs, where you have to do your exam like Viva. But we're not going to get to that because I haven't gotten that yet. So so on the stage 1, you've got visit 1, visit 2, visit 3, and maybe visit 4 if your assessor feels that you need to have that. So the first stage just finished now is my visit 1. So stage 1, visit 1 is done and dusted and was successful. Thanks be to God. So how do you prepare for this visit 1? Now, before visit, so once you have that call with your assessor or text or email or whatever it is, however you were able to have a conversation with your assessor and he fixes a date for your visit 1, just like I said in my previous video, I talked about how long it's going to take for him to fix the first visit. So now let's say you have had the conversation with him and he has fixed it and you know your date for visit 1. What do you do next? So the very thing that I suggest, so basically everything I'm going to talk about is just based off my suggestions. Yeah, like everyone probably has how things work for them, but I just feel like if you probably do this, it would be a lot better, a lot easier for you. And so the first thing I would say is go to the website and print all the documents that you're going to need for visit 1. So if you go on the college website, they have the stage 1. So if you click on stage 1, you're going to see literally all the visits, and downwards you're probably going to see like literally all the documents you're going to need for your pre-reg, basically for all of the visits. So if you probably go click on the visit 1 documents, you'll see the assessment framework, the visit plan, anonymized patient records. You see which is like where the supervisor's declaration, where she needs to sign or he needs to sign, your supervisor. And you're also going to see the witness testimony form that you need to print out. Okay, so when that happens, so you just print them all out, and I would say print it out and just keep in view of your assessment that will be coming up. But most importantly, what I would want you to get out and just maybe get to go through and just like understand what you need to get is your assessment framework. This is what the assessment framework looks like. I mean, it's just literally a lot of stuff. It's got literally all of the details that you need for your assessment. And one of the things my assessor told me is the questions that will be asked will come from the indicators. So it's from the indicators that literally every question that you're going to be asked in your visit 1 will come from. Now, when you print out your framework, the thing I need you to do is you go to look at the patient encounter. So let's say you have for unit 1 competence, you have communication. Okay, so there are different competencies you're going to meet. You have communication, professional conduct, methods of ocular examination, optical appliances, contact lens, ocular diseases. So all of them have different patient encounters. So what is patient encounter? Basically, it's just literally the compulsory patients you must see for every competency. I don't know if that makes sense. Now, if you have for communication, you have to see, for instance, for communication, under the patient encounter, you have to see a patient taking medication for systemic disease. So, of all the patients that you're going to see doing your routine eye test or eye care, what you have to get for one of the competencies under communication is a patient taking medications for a systemic disease, for example, cardiovascular disease or diabetes. So if, for instance, a patient comes in and during your case history, you ask them if they have any medical condition or something like that. Maybe you just ask them, do you have diabetes? Do you have hyperpressure, things like that? And they say, oh, I have diabetes. So the next thing you're going to want to know is, now that is it. Like, so the fact that the person has diabetes, maybe they tell you they have like type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes or whatever it is, then that is your patient for your patient encounter. Okay, so that patient is literally what you need to clear that unit of competence, which is what they're asking for. Now, the next thing that you're going to go ahead to know is will now be in the indicators. So from the indicators, you're going to see something like takes a thorough history from the patient to include medication, control, disease duration. So basically, for that competency to be met, it means that the patient that has got diabetes, you need to ask them about the medication they're taking. So you need to write it down. You need to get the medication they're taking. You need to find out what control measures they're taking. Okay, you need to also know how long they've had that disease, right? So all of this has to be in your records for that patient if you want to use him or her as your patient encounter, if that makes sense. So basically, now when you get all of that, you will have to include their TR number. If you start period, you're going to understand what TR number is. So you include your TR number under the anonymized patient records, because APR means that you need to get the records of that person and it has to be anonymized. What do they mean by anonymized? Like, you literally have to take up all of the details of the person, all of the details that could make it easy to identify who that patient is. You need to take off the patient's name, the patient's date of birth. You need to take off the patient's address and the patient's GP. So if you take off all of that, how do you do it? So I used marker. So you can use your marker, black marker or pen or anything, just like shade out the name so that it is completely not seen, so no one can tell who that patient is. So you're basically just using a random patient, and that's literally what they want to know. And so this is literally what you're going to do for all of the patients, all of the competencies. Basically, get the patient's records for get the patient records based on what is written here. Say for your optical appliance, another compulsory patient out of all the patients that you get to see, you must find a patient dispensed where information from the old spectacle was required. So you need to find that patient that you dispensed them based on their old spectacle requirements. Like, do you understand? So when you get that patient, that is what you're going to use to complete for that competency. Now, under the indicators, your assessor may have to now ask you questions based on, it says provides all necessary information for a pair of spectacles to be duplicated, to include the prescription, the lens type and form, the centration and fitting positions, frame details, lens surface treatments. So maybe if you literally do your best, basically by trying to get the information that you need to fit that patient's spectacles or to dispense that patient, you're going to have to know about all of that, know about the prescription, know about the lens type and form and centration and the fitting position, so that you literally, because your assessor can just ask you anything based on the indicators. So you have to have that patient record to display that you saw this patient and this was one of the required patients that was needed for the competency to be met. So every competency requires a certain kind of patient that is literally different from the random patients that you see. Let's say you've been doing lots of dispenses, you dispensed for old people, young people, just you've been doing dispenses and you've not dispensed a person that you needed to get their previous prescription or their old prescription to use for that dispense, then you have not met that competency. Does that make sense? So no matter how you keep seeing patients, no matter all of the people you keep seeing, it's to meet that particular competency, you have to meet that patient requirement. You have to get literally find that patient and put it as your records, and that is literally what you need to meet that competency. So from that patient encounter or patient records that you see, your supervisor, your assessor will go under the indicators. There are questions there to literally things that you need to know in the process of getting to see that patient. So that's what your supervisor or your assessor is going to ask you questions based on. The second thing under the patient, under the visit 1, you would be seeing is the witness testimony. So the witness testimony is the WT, and it's based off on your supervisor. So your supervisor is going to stand as your witness. For instance, witness to show that you carried out a particular responsibility or a particular task that was asked of you or that was required of you to carry out. Let's say, for instance, for the visit 1, you've got 2 witness testimonies. Your supervisor is the one who is going to be the witness to say, you did this, or I saw her do this, or I saw him do this. So, for instance, for keratometry, so under methods of ocular examination, you're going to have to perform keratometry on certain patients, and the supervisor has to watch you do it and be sure that you can do it right. And if he or she sees that you were able to carry out this keratometry procedures rightly or correctly on this patient, then she or he can just sign you off and say, yes, I saw her do it, or I saw him do it, and then it means that and maybe she did it well, or he did it well. So she's going to write, whoever your supervisor is going to have to testify that they witnessed you carry out that procedure and you got it right. You also have another one for lensometry. So there's also, I think that was the 2, keratometry and lensometry. So your supervisor will watch you do, will watch you read out use your lensometer to read out prescriptions, and she'll probably ask you questions based on some of the things, and to also know or clarify that you know what you're doing. Okay, so basically, what am I trying to say here is, when you print out your assessment framework, that's what you're going to have to work with. You need to know what kind of patients you need to bring, what kind of patients you need to compulsorily see, compulsorily compulsorily examine, and you need them for your records. to be able to say that you met those competencies. I feel like I've been able to make myself clear. Now, when you find those patients, what you're going to do is you get their TR numbers, and for all of them, so if anyone that says APR means anonymized patient's record. So the TR number of that patient is what you're going to write there, and that means that that record is what you're going to present to your assessor to say, this is the patient that I saw, and this is the patient I want to use for that competency. So your assessor would literally look at that and ask you questions based on what he is seeing or what you did. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you've seen like thousands and thousands of them, and if you choose and say, this is a patient I want to see, I want to use, and they try to like question you based on that, if you pass, if you respond correctly, that's fine. If you fail anything based on, the patient records or the patient that you saw, or if you feel like there's something you didn't do right, it's just all based on the patient that you presented. Okay? I don't want to make this video so long, but apparently it's going to be long. So on and on, this is what you're going to have to do for all the competencies that you need to meet. So you're going to print out your assessment framework. You're going to print out your visit plan. This is what the visit plan looks like. Literally, it's just everything about visit one, how it's going to go, and all that you need to do all through the visit one. Once it happens from start to finish, that's literally the plan. So everything that they need is going to be written there. So if you print it out, you're going to see it's not a big deal. So all you need to do is just like sign and just have it put in your records. And the next one you're going to have to get is your anonymized patient records, and it is your supervisor's declaration. So something like this. Basically, it has like literally I'm just going to take off my supervisor's name. I'm going to fish out, please. So literally this is what it looks like. So all the patient records that you need for your visit one, you have to place them all here, and it has to be, for you to place it here, it means you have anonymized their records. You've cancelled, you've taken off completely the names, the personal details that they have instructed that be taken off. So if you present any of this records and their names are there, or any of the details that should have been taken off was not taken off, and your assessor probably sees it or something, it means that you have not properly anonymized this patient record, and there's a very high chance you're going to lose mark for that, because you have to. It's compulsory that you need to anonymize this patient records, and your supervisor can't even sign if you don't see that you have anonymized all the patient records. Print these things out on time, keep it, sign whichever one you need to sign, and go through it on time so you know what you need to do, what patient you are expecting to see. So in that case, sometimes what you need to do is like, once that happens, you could just tell some of your colleagues, and you're like, please, if you see any patient that has this or that, I need it for my records, please just bring them to me, or just let me know so I can see that patient and I can use them for my records, right? Once all of that is ready, so it helps you get ready on time, and you don't have to like literally, feel like you have not met all of the requirements that you need to get. For visit one, you must have a minimum of 30 patient encounters, okay? And they're made up of at least 10 refractions, 10 dispenses, and 10 contact lenses. So either you do a fit or an aftercare or a teach. So 10 refractions, 10 dispenses, and 3 contact lenses. So this is like a minimum of what you should have before your visit one takes place. So it's compulsory, like you have to get it. Like the truth is, before your visit one even starts, like you're literally you're going to have like more than all of those patients. So but like it's just a requirement, just in case you decide not to see any patient before that time. So it is a minimum requirement. 30 patient encounters, which includes 10 refractions, 10 dispenses, 3 contact lens patients. Okay. Okay, I think now you guys understand what the framework is all about, and it's very important that literally that's all of the things that you need to do for your visit 1 to take place. Okay. And then another thing you need to know is, so before the visit 1, your assessor is going to send you a mail, and they're going to let you know, maybe my assessor, what he did was he just sent me a mail. I feel like that's literally how everyone works, but I can only speak for myself. So he sent me a mail, and literally after the conversation, he just like already sent me a Zoom a Zoom ID that I would use for the meeting, and he sent me all of the things I need to submit, all of the details and documents I need to get for the assessment. And he said I have to send them to him 1 week to my assessment. So a week to my assessment, he has to get all of the documents and all of the details that he needs to have for the assessment to take place. Then, so what did I do on the day or before the day? So before the day of my assessment, what I did was because I'm always very particular at things like this, I need to just stay ready at all times. So I tried to test run the Zoom. I wanted to know everything, because I kind of just literally wanted to get used to everything, so that on that day I don't have to be looking at which button should I do, which this and that. And so if you have not used anything that had to do with you sharing your screen and you trying to like present your records, you need to just test run before the day. So I had a friend, I just like said, please can you just, I need to like test run everything. And so we had a Zoom call, and I tried to share my screen so I see how it works and what he's seeing, so what my assessor would likely be seeing, what I would do, and it would be that maybe he's not seeing this or he's not seeing that, because I didn't want any issues to arise whatsoever. So I had to like test run my laptop, be sure that everything was working rightly. So which is what I think you need to do. Have everything just in check and know that okay, you're ready to go. And what I did was also I saved all of my details, like my logbook, because you have to send your logbook as well. So I saved my logbook and all of the documents that I needed for my assessment, and I saved it up in my Google Drive, so that any laptop I decide to use anywhere, anytime, I can always like have access to it, not necessarily compulsorily or necessarily have to be only just in my laptop. So I'm just going to suggest that for you. Put all your documents and all your records up in your Google Drive, so that you can have access to it anywhere you go, on any system, on any laptop you decide to use. Okay. And the next thing was so when I did all of that, it was because my laptop had started malfunctioning literally the day before, so I literally had to go find a colleague, and I used his laptop. So that was why it was easy. So I just went on my Google Drive, and I just downloaded all of the documents that I needed, and I saved them based on the competencies. So for all of your patient records, what you would do is you're going to print all of the records, the TR numbers, the patient's records, and you save them based on the competencies. That was what I did. So I saved it. So for communication, I had all of the patient encounters I needed for that competency. I saved it under communication. Under professional conduct, I saved it under literally for every competency that required a patient encounter, I had to save with that name, so I know this is the patient encounter for this competency. And so if the assessor just says like on that day, the assessor was like so what is your patient encounter for the unit one you do unit one competency communication. So I just went straight to unit one competency, which is communication. I just clicked on it and it just just came out and all of that. So that's what you need to do. So I said test run, okay, and try to send. So you need to have these things ready so you can send your documents in time, because I just did not do everything so fast. So I kind of like just was trying to find my way around. I don't know how. It's just sometimes it's not really easy. Like you just try to find your way around these things. You don't really understand how everything just works. And honestly, like I kind of knew what I was meant to get, but I just wasn't too sure what it was exactly and what I needed to do. So that's why I'm just putting out this video, because you need to know, like, just print them out. I felt like if I had kind of really known these things that well, it would be a lot easier to say, okay, I need to print these things out at first and just work with it on time. So when you save everything based on the competencies, you are ready to go. Yeah. So on the day of the assessment, look, let me tell you something. Let me just tell you something there. It's very important to prepare your mind. To be honest, I don't know how else to explain this properly, but you need to let yourself know that, look, you can't afford to fail this. Do you understand? Like, that's me. I'm just gonna say this is literally what I do. Like, on that day, I just slept and I woke up and I was like, see, I don't know, I've done my best to try to prepare for this assessment, try to read and things like that. You're not going to always be perfect, but it's important that you let yourself know, look, I cannot fail this. I don't care how it's going to happen, but I'm not going to fail this. So that was what I just literally woke up that morning and I said to myself, Chima, look, yeah, you're going to walk in there and you're going to be confident and you're going to speak to the assessor like you know what you're talking about. These people are all human beings. And if you even test run it, you'll see if someone speaks to you without confidence, like even if they know what they're talking about, you're not going to feel so sure that they know what they're talking about, because you're not really confident about it. You need to prepare your mind and just know that you can't fail. Have that mindset. Look, this is a human being. As long as I'm concerned, this is the profession. All of us are in this profession together. We will do it. I understand how this works, and I'm going to speak it based on what I understand, and I'm going to speak boldly to you. Be very bold and speak confidently. No send anybody. Just as it's asking you, be responding based on your own understanding. Do you understand? However you understand it, talk about it and be very confident about the way you're trying to pass your information, and don't let anything he does or anybody does make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. Just like say it, respond, and be confident about how you're speaking to them. Respectfully, but be very confident. So that is all I want to say today. So we had this assessment. It was at work. So I had to do it at work because they say find a quiet place with your laptop and where you can have a conversation with your assessor. So it's more like a conversation. It's not necessarily, don't feel like it's an exam where you just, oh my god, this is a pass or fail exam. Like it's a conversation. Like if you've had your interview, you can see how you guys were able to talk. Do you understand? Just they're not waiting to fail you. They just need to know that you know what you're talking about. And so I used the system and I sat in my office at work, and so after we had gone through all of the competencies, he asked for my supervisor to join. So already you're going to know that your supervisor has to join at some point. So that's why I had to do it at work, so that my supervisor can come in. And when my supervisor came in and they just talked, and he just talked about everything that how everything went and what he felt about the assessment and everything. And he, just talked to my supervisor and literally about how everything went. So that's how it all happened. It's not, like I said, it's just you need to prepare as much as you can, because of course you also want to do well as well. So just try as much as you can to just stay ready, have everything in place. Do the best that you can, and on that day, don't let fear, grip you. It's a conversation. They just want to know what you know, and besides, it's just all about eyes, and literally, you need to know it's just like things you need to kind of know, because you want to practice in the country, and you have to just have an idea about how the whole system works, and that's just what they want to know, how far you've been able to understand how the system works. Okay, so if you have watched this video down to this point, I'm so grateful, because I know that this video is very long, and thank you so much for staying down to the end. I'm so grateful, and I really appreciate you. Okay, so do stay blessed, and I will see you again in my next video. Bye.